YouTube, Facebook, world, what's poppin'? It's your boy Dustin. If you don't know, it's my name. And if you do know, I'm just reminding you of my name. All right, so check it out. It's currently April 1st, 2020, and it seems like this whole year has been one giant April Fool's joke on us. We've been dealing with nothing but drama after drama after drama and blow after blow after blow to the gut. You know what I mean? It's getting hard to catch your breath out here, even if you don't have the coronavirus. So, that being said, I figured, let me try something different. Let me try to do something here with my friends. Let me try to do something for the people. Just even something for myself to entertain myself in between watching the news all day and trying to figure out what's going on. So, what I came out with was an idea for something called Album Roulette. What is Album Roulette, you ask? Well, Album Roulette is where I choose 6 albums that are celebrating an anniversary that particular week. In the case of this week's episode, they were celebrating an anniversary last week. I'm just lazy. Is what it is. But yeah, essentially 6 albums celebrating an anniversary. I'll assign them a number 1 to 6. I'll roll a dice, digital dice. If I can find a physical dice in my house, I'll get a physical dice and roll it Yahtzee style and show you what it lands on. But in the meantime, a physical dice, and whatever that dice kind of lands on, whatever number between 1 to 6, that's the album that I've got to listen to, and that's the album that I've got to review for you. So, Album Roulette. Now, I could just take albums that I've listened to, my favorite albums. I could just do it really simple and cheat the whole time. Or I could throw in a bunch of eclectic albums, that I don't know, mixed in with some that I do know. So, just gives it that, that element of surprise as far as, what I'm going to actually listen to and review, right? So, let's see what we got lined up this week for our inaugural episode of Album Roulette. All right, so off the hop, we got, boom, A+, Hemstead High. Now, I remember this album slightly. What I remember from this album, for the most part, is just making out with my girlfriend when I was 17, 18 to Enjoy Yourself a lot. Just seemed like it was on the radio every time we were kind of going at it. So I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for this album, specifically for that song, Is What It Is. Couldn't really unearth too much information on it, other than the fact that it was released March 23rd, 1999. So I still would have been, in my teenagers at that time. Number 1 single off the album was Enjoy Yourself, and the album title is Hemstead High. All right, so next up, album number 2, Depeche Mode, Songs of Faith and Devotion. Now, if you know me, you know I'm a huge Depeche Mode fan. I went to go see them live here in Toronto a couple years back when they performed here. And like I said, they're just one of my favorite bands. Grew up in the 80s, the 90s, so I heard Depeche Mode on the radio a lot. And as I got older, I just kind of really gravitated towards them a little bit more so. I don't know what it is. I just liked them a lot, right? So we take a look here, some of the stats from this album. So released March 22nd, 1993. Spent 29 weeks on the Billboard charts. Peak position was number 1. So shout out my boys in Depeche Mode, UK's finest. That's what's up. All right, number 3, Silverchair, Frogstomp. Definitely an album that came out when I was in high school. I had a few friends who were really obsessed with this album, so I would hear it a lot. Some decent memories to this album. It's cool because they're similar to my age, and there weren't a lot of rock acts at that time who were around, my age. So let's see here. So Frogstomp, let's see when the release date for this album was. Seems like everything this week's released around 94 to 95. Apparently this album was recorded in 9 days, so shout out Frogstomp, or shout out Silverchair for recording this in 9 days. This was released March 27th, 1995. Singles off this album: Tomorrow, Pure Massacre, Israel's Son. I think there's a couple other ones, but those are the ones that everybody for the most part will remember. And again, they said they recorded this album in 9 days. All right, so next up we got, I believe this is number 4. My man Biggie Smalls, Life After Death. You know what I mean? Like, this album, I definitely got a copy of this album. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like my 3rd copy of this album. And I don't even remember buying my first copy of this album. It's just one of those albums that I always had, always been there. And with Biggie, it's like there's so many remixes. You know, they got the remix album, so a lot of the songs off this album, you know, you would hear on remix albums with other artists and whatnot. But you know, for example, like Nasty Girl, like I couldn't tell you if I like the remix or I like the original better. You know, it was just that dope. And it'd be interesting if this one is selected because I might not have really ran through this album in a few years, and I just want to see how it holds up. Like I know it'll hold up, but without mentioning a lot of the things that a lot of rappers mention today, like I really want to see how this body of work holds up in comparison to what's out today. I have no doubt that it will. I think like it'll hold up absolutely well, right? So facts on this album. So release date of this album, March 25th, 1997. Singles off this album included Hypnotize. Everybody and their mama knows Hypnotize. More Money, More Problems. Sky's the Limit. I think I cried the first time I saw the Sky's the Limit video. I'm not even gonna lie, man. It hit me in the heart real hard, man. Everybody knows Biggie's story, you know what I mean? So that's number 4. Number 5, Controversial. Now, I was going through this list and I just saw this band. I saw their name. I saw their album cover and I was like, yeah, I gotta throw that in the mix. I really hope that I don't, roll a 5. If I do, it'll be interesting. But yeah, this is a band called Anal C Word. I'm not even gonna say the C word. Just is what it is. You should be able to tell by the logo exactly what it is. Yeah, that's sorry. Before we go to the next one. So let's see here. So Anal blank C Word, 40 More Reasons to Hate Us. Release date March 26th, 1996. It's really all I can get on it. Great name, great album cover. I'm sure it's gonna be horrible music, but hey, that's album Roulette. All right, and number 5, we got my man Big L. So a lot of I feel like there's a lot of hip hop this week. So at least 3 hip hop albums, but you know, it is what it is. Big L, Lifestylez of the Poor and Dangerous. Now, I've definitely heard this album in my time. I don't own a copy. Horrible to say I don't own a copy. Rest in peace, Big L. Big L's the man. You know what I mean? If you don't know who Big L is, go out there and do your research. Big L is a man. I feel like though he was taken a little too early. Like just as a artist and a musician myself, I could kind of listen to Big L's earlier stuff like this and just tell he didn't really like perfect his flow 100% yet. And that's not knocking his flow at all. It's just me noticing he still had so much more potential for greatness. And that's saying that about an artist who was already revered as one of the greatest. You know what I mean? Like he's dope at what he did. I could just tell he wasn't, in his final form yet. And had he reached his final form, he'd be a problem all around, man. So rest in peace, Big L. Definitely one of the illest to ever do it. And if you don't know, Big L was in a group with Mace. He was in a group with Cameron back in the day, Children of the Corn. You can definitely go out and check for some of that stuff. He's also a member of DITC, and he signed to Rockefeller Records just before he passed. So, I mean, what that Rockefeller Records album coulda, woulda, shoulda been, who knows, man? But rest in peace, Big L, So, some facts on this album. Let's take a look here real quick. Big L, Lifestylez of the Poor and Dangerous. So release date March 28th, 1995. Seems like there's a lot of albums released around March 28th, 26th. Singles, Put It On, MVP, No Ends, No Skins. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But shout out Big L. All right. So what we're going to do right now, boom. What I got up here in the corner of the screen is I got a digital dice. I'm going to roll this digital dice and it's going to determine exactly who, let's move this dice over here. Boom, we're going to move that over there just so you can see my face a little bit better because it's too pretty to be hiding it. You know what I mean? I got Jay behind me, so shout out Jay. So what we're going to do right now real quick, we're going to roll this digital dice. Like I said, whatever it lands on from 1 to 6, that's the album that I got to listen to. That's the album that I got to review. And I'm going to give you my review of said album Roulette. So fingers crossed that I don't land on number 5. If you want me to land on number 5, cross your fingers and hopefully I'll land on number 5. Let's see what we get here. Who we gonna listen to? Who we gonna bump? Who's gonna be the winner? Who's gonna be the first Roulette album that we review? Let's go. So I'm not even really gonna look here. What I'm gonna do right now, as a matter of fact, I'm just gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna hit this button. Hopefully dice is going. And let's see what we got. I don't even know if the dice went. It was on 2 before I did that, so you know what? Let me try this again. All right. Dice is rolling. I don't know what it's at. Let's see what we get. I'm gonna give it another 5 seconds. See what album we have to review. I apologize if that did land on two the first time. I just didn't see if it was rolling or not. Let's see what we get here. Hopefully it's not number 5. Oh, 4. All right, so number 4. So let's go back here. Let's see who was number 4. We had A+, Depeche Mode, Silverchair. Ooh, Iggy. Number 4, Life After Death. It's kind of fitting. All right, that's a long album. Really, really, really long album. So what I'm gonna do, let's go back to the large window here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this feed real quick. I'm gonna cut this feed real quick. I'm gonna say what's up to my girl Mary. I'm gonna grab a bowl of food and I'm gonna sit my phone down and put it on hyperlapse while I kind of take in this album. And I'll put that up in the video, and then I'll come back after the hyperlapse and I'll give you my retro review or my review of Life After Death, Biggie Smalls. That's what's up. That's what we do here. It's album roulette. All right, so we're gonna do this, baby. I'm gonna cut this off really quick here. You probably won't even notice through the magic of editing, because that's what we do when we edit. And like I said, I'm gonna quickly say what's up to my girl Mary J. Blige, Mary J, probably in a blunt, Mary J. Blunt. And I'm gonna say what's up to her. I'm gonna get a bowl of food. I'm gonna whip out my cell phone, throw that on hyperlapse, record myself bumping this Biggie album, come back to the setup here and give y'all my review. All right, so see y'all in a bit. All right, and we're back. Album roulette. And once again, the winner, Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G., Life After Death. And what can I say? Great album. Phenomenal album. Like, I absolutely loved it. So let me just kind of just add this here. It's just a little time lapse of me bumping the album. I was eating some food, whatever. Great album, man. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, I forgot how amazing this album was head to toe. Like, this album absolutely crushed it, right? 24 tracks, if I'm not mistaken. It was a double album, so it was a little long. I think it was about 1 hour and 42 minutes or something along those lines. So definitely long, in that sense. But if there's ever a term, sophomore jinx, it doesn't apply to this album. He actually smoked it, like absolutely smoked it right out the gate. That's pretty much all I can say. Right off the hop, if we go through these tracks, you got Somebody's Gotta Die. Dope. Amazing. You got Hypnotize. Still one of the best tracks, if not the best track on this album. Personally, I like Sky's the Limit, but Hypnotize was great. Phenomenal. Effing You Tonight with R. Kelly. Classic Biggie track. R. Kelly did his thing. R. Kelly annoyed me at the end of the track. And if this was today, you probably wouldn't get that R. Kelly collabo based on the issues in R. Kelly's life, but whatever, right? It was what it was. Last Day, you got Kiss. He was killing it, and you knew back then that Kiss was a beast. He's still a beast today, and you could tell back then he was holding his own with Biggie. The Locks were holding their own in general, but you knew Kiss, Jada Kiss, was the man, and he still remains to be the man at this time. I like both, Sheik Luch. I like Styles P. I think I like Styles P the most out of the Locks. Now that I'm a little bit older, there's times where I like Sheik, but Jadakiss still got those punchlines, man. So shout out him and rappers like him and Fab. You got Love the Dough, which it blows my mind to hear this track today in 2020, because over the last 25 years or so, 23 years or so, we have people saying that Jay wouldn't be, what he is if Biggie was alive today. But when you listen to this track, man, Jay holds his own. You can't really say who got who better than who. The only thing that I can really think of is depends on what you prefer. Do you prefer the more bassy baritone voice versus the more nasal voice that Jay-Z has? But this track is just all flow. Like, it's just flow firing at all cylinders. Like, these guys just ping, 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 ping. Just absolute flow. And as a rapper myself, as a writer, somebody who crafts rhymes, just going back and listening to this track, it's amazing to see what these guys did and how they held their own together. And to hear the legends that neither one of these really took the pen to the paper. It was all done in the head. One dude would go in the booth. One guy would, come back and do his own thing. And I did hear some story. I don't know if it was this one or Brooklyn's Finest off Jay's album. that, Big came back and re-recorded his verse or this, that, and the other. But regardless, this track is just an absolute, showcasing of flow. It's just amazing, right? So definitely one of those tracks I love. And the older I get, the more I like this track. What's Beef? Same thing, man. Just a dope track. But the thing about this track that makes me laugh is I saw an interview with Gutta. And if you know this track, Biggie has a real disrespectful line about kidnapping kids and, it was boy kidnapping kids and sodomizing with brooms. An interview with Gutter, and he talked about how mad he was at Biggie for saying that. And all I could think of was like, man, like how pissed would you be your boy if he did something foul like that and just said that? You got to walk around for the rest of your life, people thinking you the type to kidnap kids, throw them over a bridge, and sodomize them with brooms. Like, that's mad wild. Biggie, like, I'd be pissed at you for life for that one, but at the same time, I would have laughed my ass off. Like, you're an asshole. You know what I mean? So, shout out to Gutter. He's still giving interviews based off that line in that song. And you got the interlude, which is dope. Just Biggie doing his little thing. You got More Money, More Problems, where Mace smokes it. And for the most part, we'd already known who Mace was before this track. Before a lot of people, this was their mainstream, I guess, inception or their mainstream, first time hearing Mace, right? So shout out Mace, man. Shout out Murder Mace, Mason Betha, Minister Mace, whatever he's going by these days. He put out some good music. He definitely got me through my teenage years and early 20s, hitting up the clubs and stuff. You know what I mean? We got Niggas Bleed, which is a dope story. Got a Story to Tell, which is another dope story. And I liked how those two were just kind of back to back. Niggas Bleed is crazy. It's crazy when you really think about it and you really break it down. And again, just as a rapper, to see how Biggie was able to weave these super, super duper intricate stories just kind of all in together like that. Like, it's absolutely nuts that he was able to do that. Not too many could really tell stories on his level. I would say Slick Rick, Nas, Jay, Snoop, few others, but to really tell the stories as vividly as they did, that takes a crazy, crazy, crazy skill. So shout out to Big on that. There's me doing the time lapse again. Yeah, I guess I'll leave that up. There's me listening to the Biggie album again, right? So Niggas Bleed, Story to Tell, Notorious Thugs. Ooh, I was wilding out. I don't know if you could really see in the time lapse, but I was wilding out. Like I was loving that track, and I forgot how much I really loved that track. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I like Busy Bones' verse better or Biggie's verse. Crazy kills it. The hook's dope, but I don't know, man. It's a toss up between Busy and Biggie for me on that one. What else you got? You got Miss You, which is one of the tracks that are just like, wasn't really feeling it. You got Another, which is Biggie singing off key, and Lil Kim going back and forth, and I ain't even mad at that. I liked it. It was dope. Going Back to Cali, one of my favorite tracks off the album. Always been one of my favorite tracks off the album. I just love this track. I love the LL Cool J version. I love the instrumental. I love the beat. I love the hook. I love just everything about this track. It just always made me go crazy and made me actually want to go out to LA. Never been to LA, so we're going to make it a thing that if 2020 is a write-off, 2021, I'm getting out there. And Baka said, you know what I mean? Like, I got a homie, Baka, out there. He's a promoter, and he's like, yo, homie, you got me out here, so you ain't out here, it means you really don't want to come out here. And I want to get out there. I ain't got no excuses. So LA 2021 a bus, baby. We going back to Cali. All right, so moving on. 10 Crack Commandments. Ooh. Shout out Chuck D on the hook. It was dope to hear Chuck D on the hook on that one. Just crazy. Oh, going back to Cali. Shout out to Roger Troutman. If y'all know Zap. Roger Troutman, classic, classic old school. He was a dude that was singing the vocoder in California Love and whatnot, right? Like, he's classic. My cousin put me on to Zap and Roger Troutman when I was like 12 years old. I really like those guys. Computer Love and all that good stuff. So yeah, 10 Crack Commandments. You got Chuck D on the hook, and that's just crazy story. You know what I mean? Again, same thing. Biggie's one of the best storytelling rappers ever. Player Hater, you know, again, I wasn't really feeling Player Hater, so I just kind of whatever. That's one of the tracks I'm never really feeling. Nasty Boy, you know, it's a dope track. I love the remix to Nasty Boy as well because there's a million remixes to that song. The World Is Filled, and you got Too Short and Puffy accompanying Biggie, and they're doing a thing. You know, the old school Oakland fat bass lines just gives you that whole pimp vibe, that whole black exploitation movie, Superfly type vibe that, you know, Biggie's known for. And I love it, man. It's got that old school vibe. The older I get, the more I really kind of like, you know, that 70s vibe to stuff. You know what I mean? I just kind of age, and I just like those bass lines. Those bass lines start to appeal to me more. Those big wide body Cadillacs start to appeal to me a little bit more. The leather seats, and I don't know what it is, because as a kid I hated those big cars, those Buicks and those Regals and those pimp mobiles. But the older I get now, I'm just like, yo, it's dope, man. Throw some spokes on that shit and a big hood ornament, and I'll drive slow in the passing lane. You know what I mean? So what's yeah, that's it there. You know what I mean? What else we got here? Oh man, I can't believe so before or after Nasty Boy and before The World Is Filled, we got Sky's the Limit. And personally, I think that that's the best Biggie Smalls Notorious B.I.G. track of all time. Like, I think he just absolutely came at that track with a level of maturity that most people, you know, most people would never even know. Most people would ever even really understand. You know what I mean? You listen to most Biggie, and on the surface, it just seems like a dude who's just, you know, smoking weed and hanging out on the block with his boys, hanging out on the stoop and just talking that trash. You hear a song like Sky's the Limit, and you know the potential that this guy had. This guy had all the potential in the world. He could have made music just as deep as Pac, and that's what this song represents. This song is just as deep as any song that Tupac could put out. And I'll be honest with you, the first time I saw the video for this, I dropped tears. I shed a lot of tears because it was just so amazing conceptually to see these kids, to see a kid Biggie, and see a kid Puffy, and see a kid Lil Kim, and see a kid Buster Rhymes, and watch this dude spit these rhymes. And it was the most heartfelt rhymes that I'd ever heard Biggie spit. And, you know, at the time I was probably 16, 17 years old, you know, and he had been murdered and Tupac had been murdered, and they were both kind of like just immortalized as a teenager in my mind. Like, Pac was just, can't even fathom how big Tupac was. From the moment he did the movie Juice and dropped Brenda's Got a Baby, to he was murdered, and then then some. It's just, he was massive. Biggie was really the only thing that was even remotely close to that level. And again, just to hear Biggie put out Sky's the Limit and know the potential he had and what was robbed from us and what was taken from us and what he could have did once he kind of approached his 30s and got into his 30s and lived his life more. I just think it would have been nuts. I think he would have been even more phenomenal than what we regard him as today. But, you know, is what it is, right? So again, then you got, you know, The World Is Filled. Like I said, it's got the fat bass lines, and you got My Downfall with DMC, and DMC kills that hook. I don't care what you think. Shout out Run DMC. Real Life Story, the first actual piece of music that I ever bought for myself with my own money was Run DMC's Down with the King. So it's dope to see, you know, DMC on this and see DMC killing that hook. Like, he murdered it and is what it is. And then you got Long Kiss Goodnight and You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You. And I feel like with those last three tracks, like, it's just the end of a mafia film. You know, it could be maybe a Carlito's Way type film where someone's not necessarily mafia, but they're deep, deep, deep into the gang of that, you know, particular culture or whatnot. But it really has more of a mafioso movie type vibe, and just the way Biggie presents himself and comes across on those tracks. But overall, you know, Life After Death is an amazing album, filled with just, you know, beats that Puff and the team put together and made sure that they would last a lifetime. Stories interwoven, you know, or interwoven stories about women, weed, marijuana, murder, streets, New York, LA, etc. And, you know, it still holds up, regardless of not referencing things that in 2020, you know, most artists, most rappers, most people would mention, he still managed to put out an album that feels as fresh today, 23 years later or 24 years later than it did, or as did at the time, right? And regardless of what's not being said on this album, what material objects aren't being mentioned, or what technology of the day is not being mentioned, this album is dope. It's great. It does everything that it did then, it still does now. Biggie's still worth his weight in rhymes, and he was heavy as hell, so that means he's worth a lot in those rhymes. He still sounds just as good, if not better, than any rapper who's out in 2020 today. So that being said, I'm glad this inaugural episode of Album Roulette, we landed on Notorious B.I.G. It was a great album review. I'm happy that I went back and reviewed this album. Kind of upset that I didn't get AC. I thought that would have made for a great episode. But nonetheless, man, we got my dude, Chris Wallace, a.k.a. the Notorious B.I.G., a.k.a. Biggie Smalls, a.k.a. Frank White, a.k.a. the man with more a.k.a.s than Method Man. You know what I mean? I loved it. Album Roulette is what it is. First one we did, Life After Death, Notorious B.I.G. That said, I hope y'all like this. I hope you like the concept. I hope you like what I'm doing and how I'm presenting it. I'm going to try to get better. I'm going to try to improve it. I'm going to try to take some suggestions and try to grow this. So if you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. But if you do like it and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. I'll point up, but there's not going to be a subscribe button there because I'm not that good yet. I got to get all that stuff worked out. But hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. My name is Dustin. This is Album Roulette. And aside from all the other stuff I'm trying to do on my YouTube channel, this is what I'm trying to get up and going on 2020. Shout out to my Toronto Talks brothers. They out there. Maloney, Breaking Records Radio. Check out his page, man. He kills it. He's got a lot of great interviews, a lot of great content on his channel. Check out my dude, Mike Stone. He's our Toronto Talks partner. Amazing DJ. Shout out Cheza Miller, Iceberg Society. He's definitely doing his thing. He's doing some reviews. He's got a lot of different podcasts, a lot of things on the go. He also makes merchandise. He made our Toronto Talks merchandise. So definitely hit him up. And shout out my boy Specs. Specs1, north of 80. 80's favorite babies, baby. That said, again, my name's Dustin. Hit the subscribe button. This was dope. This was fun. I'm going to jump into this again next week, and we'll see what 6 albums we potentially, look at next week. And again, shout out Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls, the mansion, the yacht. Let me end this off with the Life After Death cover. All right, y'all. One love. Album Roulette. We out. Peace.